Good morning, guys. I'm alive, indeed. So, today I'm going to talk about welcome to the XA talk show. By the way, it's 1 o'clock a.m. in the morning here, so I have to be quiet. I live in a small apartment. It's a two-bedroom apartment in California in Mountain View. Now, Mountain View is where Google's headquarters is at. And it's very expensive here. And so my rent here is actually, this place is pretty cheap. It's old apartment building. It's 2000 2200 2300 a month. And I have, let's see, one, two, three, four. I have four roommates. So I have to pay about $800 a month. And that pretty much makes it even. That is, whatever income I have, just pay the rent. So I'm gonna, so hi there. Who are you? Say something. So I'm going to talk about random things. I was planning to talk about YouTube videos. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Oh, three people. Hey guys, hey, break the loop. Informatic. Hey guys, where are you guys from? Like, okay, in this hour, you guys are in Europe, right? On YouTube and elsewhere on the internet, most people, uh, including geeks, or especially geeks, they use pseudonyms or handles. North. Oh wow, North Africa. Oh wow, San Jose, California. Hey, we can meet up. Do we have we met before? Break the loop. Wow, amazing. We have someone from North Africa. Where in North Africa? May I ask? Informatic. And how did you find me? Okay, so well, you can look up people here. I mean, this is Morocco. Oh yeah, yes, I remember you said that before. So African accent. I don't know how African English. Yeah, I don't. It's not in my memory how it sounds like. But Morocco. Okay, I know that Morocco is the most crowded city, right? I grew up in Taiwan, and Taiwan. Where is Taiwan, guys? Taiwan is a tiny island. So this is a you know it's our talk show. So let's look at the map. Random things. So here's the China. Here's China. Let's um let's zoom out. So you can see here's a globe, and here is China. China is about the same size as USA, and Taiwan is here. It's very small. Um, let's shrink a little bit. You see, okay, so here is Japan, here is Taiwan, and if you look now, remember the sizes. Okay, so China is about this big, Taiwan is this big, Japan is this big, South Korea, and let's go to USA, the most powerful nation in the world. And by the way, I'm a member. I'm a US citizen. So USA is this big. So Taiwan is like New Hampshire. It's like the same size of Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine. Yeah. So So let me, yeah, okay. So let me tell you where I came from. So I was born in Taiwan here, and in 1968, and when I was 14, that's around 1981 or 1982, I flew with my family. We went to live in Paraguay here, Asuncion here, for 1 year. Then, okay, that's Paraguay. That's Spanish country. So all these continent they speak Spanish except Brazil. Brazil speaks Portuguese, which is very similar to Spanish. Then, so I lived in Paraguay for a year, and we went to live in Guatemala for half a year, Guatemala City, I think. And we were also in Salvador for 1 week, I think. And at that time, there's a war. It's around 1982 or something like that. I mean, there's always a war in Salvador, I think. Okay, so we lived in Guatemala for half a year. Then we flew all the way to Montreal. Montreal was a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city in Canada. So in Montreal for a while and in Vancouver for a while. Vancouver is all the way on the west here. And basically, then my family went home. They flew back to Taiwan, and I stayed. I'm like 16 years old, and I just lived there by myself. And I was actually a illegal alien. So I was in so I took a bus, Greyhound bus, all the way from Vancouver to back to Montreal. And I just worked in sweatshops and bagel making. Well, the in sweater factory, there's Chinese sweater factory. They make clothing, like buttons. Like when you have a shirt, for example, there are buttons, right? Those buttons, someone need to put it on there, and there's a machine. Like you just put the button, you sew the button, and other things like the whole factory makes clothing, mostly women's clothing because women's when you talk about clothing, it's all women's stuff. Um, so I was in clothing factory for a year or something. Then I was also making bagels. There's a very popular. Montreal is very famous for bagels. I think bagels is a Jewish bread or something. Yeah, I think it's a Jewish original tradition. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let's go to. Wait, where's my bookmarks? Oh, what? Uh, mm, DuckDuckGo. Okay. DuckDuckGo has a problem because right now I have JavaScript off. Anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's just turn JavaScript on. So let's go to DuckDuckGo and bagels. BAGEL. So I was making this in a bakery or manual. So anyway, let's go back to the map. So in Montreal, there's something interesting. Montreal is also it's all different now. Okay, I'm gonna mention that. I'm gonna talk about that. But when I was in Montreal, that is 1985 to 1989. It's very, you know, in in Canada, there are two like factions or political divisions. So on the Quebec province over here, they speak French. They are French ancestry. Most, they speak French, and the rest of the country is English. So they usually have like they don't get along. They fight. But so Canada is bilingual. English and French, Canadian French. So anyway, in Montreal, it's a very sexually open city. They are, from like the French culture. So I remember in the Montreal downtown, every few blocks there's a strip club. Um, but anyway, but it's all changed now. A friend went to Montreal and I asked him, "Do you still see strip clubs now?" No, because Canada has turned into this social justice country, like most white, so-called white countries, like pretty bad. USA, I think it began in USA, then in Canada and Australia, it's pretty bad, and of course Europe. But anyway, so in 1989, I came to California here from Montreal, and basically I lived here since ever since. So here is the California. This is California. This is San Francisco, um, and Los Angeles is down below here, and this is Hollywood. All the Hollywood stars here, and this area, San Francisco. This area is called San Francisco Bay Area, and it's also known as Silicon Valley. So when you hear that term, that's here, because basically all the online major mega corporations are, began here and mostly are still here. So Google, PayPal, eBay, basically everything. It's just about it. Twitter, Twitter is over here in San Francisco. Google is right here. Uh, Apple is right here. Um, IBM is not here. IBM, well, they have you know branches here, but their headquarters is not here. And Microsoft is also not here. Microsoft is in Seattle, like above. So anyway, that is the my story. So let's shrink. Let's go back and look at Europe. Now this area is troubled water. As American, you don't know what the fuck is going on there. Vast majorities. I'm kind of studious. Like most of you guys. So I read about things every day. But still, um, Americans, in general, they don't know shit. They they don't know anything outside of their country, in general. Y- you know. Uh, so anyway, so here's the Middle East. So Morocco. Okay. So Morocco. So I heard, one day I was looking up, you know, uh, what are the places that's most crowded in the world. So Morocco, I think it's like number one or number two. Okay, let's check comments. Do you do your roommates work in the software? No, my roommates, they are all Chinese, and they are 60 years old, 60, close to they are pretty old, except one guy, which is their son, who is 30 something. But basically they are they are basically illiterate. They don't speak English, first of all, and they are uh, blue collar workers. They work in restaurant. They cook. They cook. They are cooks in restaurant. So if you go to Chinese restaurant, um, oh yeah, break the loop. Someone say, yeah. So if you go to downtown, any Chinese restaurant here, that's where the reason I know them, they became my roommate, is because I was washing dishes a few years ago. Yeah, it's pretty sad, but that I did that, and I'm still in kind of in that situation. But anyway, so I was washing dishes. But the interesting thing about, so anyway, so they are illiterate. Like they don't know what the fuck is internet. They, of course, they all have iPhones. Actually, yeah, but they don't know what's going on. They just use it to talk to their friends. Chinese. They have no idea. Like, for example, they don't know the difference between Wi-Fi or cell phone. The cellular network. Like, they don't. They have no idea. Like, you just use the phone to talk to people. That's all they know. So anyway, so yeah, they are. So what I mean by that, I mean, why do I mention they are illiterate? Yeah, the interesting thing is that because you know m- we are technical people. Actually, well, technically we are professionals. So-called professionals. We are white collar, but also we are actually professionals. As if you are a programmer, you are actually classified as a professional because it takes a college education and and all that. So most of us, most of the white collars, in general, you have no idea what the blue collar people's life are like. Um, because you are affluent, you are wealthy, although you may not think you are, but you are actually, you know, very wealthy. So you kind of live in this enclosed world. How you see things is not how other people see things. Especially, I mean, I'm talking about, for example, in America. So white collars mostly are in big cities, especially on the East Coast. New York, New York, California. I mean, San Francisco. Big cities on the side, and some big cities. In the middle. But all the rest, they are like cowboy town. They are podunk town. They are like just country towns. They are just like miles and miles. You just see grass and cows and you know. Actually, that's true. If you take the, if I drove with a friend, American friend, a white guy, from 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 San Francisco to Philadelphia like 10 years ago. So, and I've seen, well, I lived in Illinois. I lived in Illinois for like half a year, and I live in Maryland for half a year. Maryland. So, but mostly my life is spent in Mountain View, in this area, Mountain View, San Jose. So anyway, let's go back. Let's see some comments. Let's answer that. How old were you when you came to Union? So yeah, I was, when I was in Canada, I was around 16. So I came to California in 1989 when I was, I think, 19 or 20. Yeah, a bus from Vancouver to Montreal is 5 days. Greyhound bus. I think it's still 5 days. I mean, if you go from San Francisco to New York, it's like 4 days or 5 days. My family, yeah, I don't like to talk about my family because my family is a problem family. My mom and dad, they fight. Like they, well, fight any involving violence, and my, it's very fairly complicated. They divorced and they remarried and they divorced again, and my mom's got um, a new boyfriend. My stepdad, and he's also no good guy, and so on. And my sister and my brother, basically my whole family, it's almost like nobody gets along with any each other. So that's the situation. Not so crowded. Morocco is not so crowded now because in Taiwan it is. uh, People here love crowdedness and hate oxygen. That's strange. Okay, so what? Okay, so that's the map. So so many interesting things going on. So I've never been to China. Uh, the situation of Taiwan and China is that if you don't know, it's basically so you have World War Two, right? World War Two, and the Japanese basically invaded China. So there's a big, huge, bloody fight. And but after that, then you have Chinese Civil War. That's very bloody. Chinese Civil War. That's between the so-called nationalist versus the communist. And in the end, the nationalist. So that's how. So my dad. So I'm part of that. I was born in Taiwan, but my dad and my granddad and my mom and my mom's parents, like in the Western countries, you hear Americans talk about Nazi all the time, like everything is Nazi, but they don't talk about Japanese every day, much because actually Japan is kind of a friend to U.S. But anyway, the Chinese and Japanese, the World War II is very bloody, and the Japanese has done things, similar to the Nazis, and but that was when I was born. That's already history. So it's like history moves on. When you are a new generation, like what they say, time heals everything. So I don't know. In China and Taiwan, most people, they watch animes, Japanese animes. But still, there's still the tension. So anyway, that's the map. So only 40 millions. Have you visited Taiwan? Well, I went back to Taiwan in 2004 and lived there for half a year. Um, but anyway, so I was going to talk about. Okay, I kind of get, so I've been talking for 23 minutes. I kind of got lost, but actually, I have huge amount of things to talk about. Let's go to YouTube. No, I was going to talk about YouTube. Shut up. Okay, can you guys hear it if the YouTube is playing? Can you guys hear it? Let's play a music. Let's see. Let's go here. Okay, great. So you guys can hear it because I was wondering, because you have to set it up here. Um, great. So yeah, I was going to talk about YouTube stuff, but should I? Or should I talk about any other thing? Because like I have so many things to talk about, like Emacs programming. Um, let's see. So Emacs block, I need to write a command to increase font globally. Okay, are you guys using Emacs? By the way, the Infomatic, how did you find me? Were you guys following me because of my Emacs stuff? Okay, YouTube. So this if have you heard that today every minute there are like thousands of hours of new videos worth, thousands of hours of new video every minute. So there's so many things. It's incredible. Alex Jones is a scumbag. When I watch people, especially public figures, I watch them and observe them. So he's just a scumbag. Well, I don't know if that's a topic. Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard of him. It's a political topic. He's a but if you haven't been paying attention, then it may not be interesting to you. Um, but anyway, he's a what they call a conspiracy theorist. He's just a crook, he just lie and create. He just say fear mongering. They like say, oh, aliens here. We are controlled by alien, and the FBI, the government is like they know that and they are supporting it and stuff. And the thing is like, is he making those things up, or is he, what's his true intention? I mean, as a person, you look at him, that like, so I think he's just, yeah, he know what he's doing. He is intentionally creating this garbage to so that a lot of people, he'll get followers and, make him rich and sell things. Like there's like zero merit from of anything coming from the mouth of Alex Jones. Zero. It's sad. Like sometimes I see, on Twitter, and sometimes I see other people. For example, the anti-left, the anti-extreme left people, what they call white right wing in USA. Um, you know, so but I found out, one of the person, one girl, when she is being interviewed by Timcast, she says that she's actually a fan of Alex Jones, and she said that everything she learned is from Alex Jones Infowars. So that's pretty sad. You see, the thing about the world is that it's that almost whatever you say, you will develop a group that follows you. um yeah, I mean yeah, that's true, but I mean that's not a scientific statement. I mean, so don't take it literally, but basically, any person, but you do, not just any person. Of course you have to have certain charisma. You have to attract people. For example, the Alex Jones guy, of course, he doesn't look like a prince, like but however, he looks okay. He looks like a typical American, the typical white American, let's say. And he's able to talk, a lot of things non-stop, and he's able to, you have to notice he's able to articulate, his conspiracy things. And he's got, certain technique, that, let's put it that way. Like, so so that's how he attract, his followers. And also the other thing is that in politics, some people follow you does not necessarily mean that they like you or they believe what you believe. They follow you because, there's a political uh, banding, affiliation. So because once you become somewhat powerful, they want to join your forces. Like war, when you have war, of 10 countries, you want to join forces with some other country, even though you don't like that guy, but you join forces because when you are small. And that's the same way, the LGBTQ stuff. That's the same way because the lesbian, let's see, lesbian, gay, bi, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans. These four groups, they don't actually are not together really. They like for bisexual don't you don't really care about gays actually. Gays don't really care about trans. They don't. I mean, there's no a natural attractiveness between each of these groups of people. Gays and bisexual or lesbians. You know, I mean lesbians. They are interested. They are women who are interested in women, and gays are guys interested in guy. If I'm a gay, I'm not interested in lesbian because you are a woman, and vice versa. So, similarly for trans and bisexual. So, you know, but they are, grouped together. You have the phrase, acronym LGBTQ because political banding. You want to group these together so you have more power. But now we are seeing problems. They are like it's getting out of hand. The trans people, there's a feminists, they don't like the trans, and the trans don't like the feminists. They so anyway, so that's Alex Jones. And okay, so there's so many things I want to that's interesting. I'm not sure I want to talk about. I mean, I don't I'm not like talking about YouTube just to talk about politics. I mean, actually, there's a lot of other things. So this actually, okay, let's look at the comment. Let's see. Not sure if YouTube audio can be heard. What do you mean? Oh, you use Vim. Okay. Oh yeah, the Alex Jones guy, hilarious. Yeah, he's he so recently he did an interview with Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan. Someone created this account, Joe Rogan University. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is kind of, he's not a intellectual. I am a intellectual. Because that's what I'm interested. In philosophy and technology and programming, artificial intelligence, all that kind of subjects. But Joe Rogan is not, and his background is he's a, MMA fighter, like mixed martial art fighter. I mean, so he's not you know a programmer or engineer, but he's rather idiotic. It's like but of course he's very famous. He's a so-called talk talk show host. All these talk shows, like they don't know nothing. Like they don't know shit. They just talk, like Ksa Talk Show. So that's why I'm running Ksa Talk Show. But anyway, so yeah, so they are not, like there was a Howard something, Howard Stern. Yeah, I remember, when watching a few Howard Stern, he just talk shit, like random garbage. Like you don't it's almost like you don't need any preparation. You don't need nothing, you just talk, and you get interesting celebrities to come on the show and talk about things. And in fact, that's actually most people's life are like. Most, like, vast majority of people. I mean, we are programmers, we are programmers or engineers or maybe scientists, and our interest, at least part of our life. We spend a lot of time studying rather very technical details, like sciences and mathematics, or engineering, how to get things to work. But that's not most people's I mean, that's not most people's interest. We find programming very interesting, but for most people, that's the most boring thing. They just wanna, they go to bars, drink beer, or they go to dance clubs. Yeah, they go shopping. Women go to shopping. They, do vacations. So anyway, so this talk show host, so that's why they get lots of views. So okay, so most people, when they want to hear, they hear news every day, right, on TV about politics, uh, and so they like to, talk show talks about them, you know, which is different from, let's say, different from me, for example, from us, let's say. Because for me, for example, when I hear political news, every day there's some politics, I tend to want to know, okay, so what is actually happening? I want, start to read Wikipedia. Okay, what countries are where, which, their history, or the economics. So what's the theory of economics? What's the statistics? So kind of like, going into academic direction or philosophy direction. So what is the proper, morality? Does, for example, democracy, um, is democracy good? I mean, is it? How much do you know about democracy? Have you studied the history of democracy? Things like that. But that's not most people. So yeah. So I was watching a few very, there's so many very interesting um, things on YouTube, but I kind of lost. Um, okay, let me talk about this one girl. She's very impressive. So much beautiful people. Uh, this YouTube fuck, with its algorithms controlling what you wanna see, suggestions. But today, most of it is bad. Like, I don't like it at all. So actually, the girl, oh, Karen, she is extremely intelligent. She's one of the person I admire. Uh, Now this girl who she lived in China, so her channel is talking about China, and of course she speaks Chinese. There are a lot of people, Westerners who speak Chinese now. Okay, it's not even showing up. Stupid. Oh, Anna Rodolph here. So she had a video that's extremely interesting. So I saw this one, I think, and also she's beautiful. She's from uh, Eastern Europe or something like that, or Middle Europe. Uh, Fuck. This happened because of the ad block. Anyways, Yeah, this one. I was watching this one. She's amazing. So she's, she's a chess expert, um, and she's beautiful, and you know, she gives, she gave a good presentation about chess. Okay, Emax question. Yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen. I mentioned that before, right? A few minutes ago. Oh, you don't hear YouTube videos playing? Okay, let me try this. Do you hear it? No? So anyway, let me stop that. So anyway, I kind of lost on what YouTube I want to talk about. But anyway, she's just when I was when I was watching this video, her, and she's just amazing. There are so many young people out there, and they are it's amazing. You should just go out, pursue whatever you want to do in your life. Okay, no YouTube. Okay, I'll have to. So okay, so for family asked about HTML mod. So let me talk about that quickly. So I have a Emacs mod, HTML mod, which is the one I'm using. You can see it in the mod line here. Let's go. Okay, hold on a second. Let's turn on XAR start command log mod. Okay, so you can see all my commands on this window, and so I have written a mod. It's called XAR HTML mod, and it's on GitHub. You can use. And right now, the question is that it does not do indent because, for example, if I press tab, um, the tab key is actually assigned to insert some tag, so there's no indent. But if I call indent for tab command, then I get this. So anyway, so my suggestion to you is that don't do indent in HTML. I never do. For for example, I never do any indent because HTML or XML is such that if you actually do indent, then you're gonna what happens is that you're gonna have lots of indents. Basically, if you look at all the websites HTML source code, they are typically not indented, um, because the whole thing is one nesting. Starting with uh, the body tag. For example, let's copy this file, new file, paste it. Oh wait, close. Copy buffer, new buffer, paste it. So this is 1200 lines of HTML. Now let's put it in HTML mod, which is Emacs default HTML. And now I select all and press tab to indent. You see, so this is the indented result. You have lots of wasted space actually. My website is actually does not use that much nesting, but for your HTML you may see even more nesting. So basically, I recommend don't indent. Just don't indent. And if you really want to, um, just call indent for tab command. Um, or what you can do is that you can just switch to HTML mod, like switch to HTML mod, and then you do indent. After you done, just close it and reopen. You open inside HTML mod. So yeah, I thought about maybe I should add a indent function, but I'm not sure about that. Because you shouldn't you shouldn't indent. Indenting is a problem in programming. Actually, to me, I consider it a problem because basically programmers, the general conventional idea is that every the conventional agreement is that you do indent on every line. That's no good. Like manually, like each programmer manually tries to indent every line. The editors usually help in some way, like when you press return it does an indent for you. uh, but very often, like every few minutes, a programmer have to fuss about indent manually, like, oh, and coding format style, like where do you put your bracket. That's no good. What should happen is should be a automated. For example, Golang is a good idea here. So let's create a new buffer. Let's switch to Go mod. Okay, Golang is a language from Google. And let's say insert template, you see, and let's say print. Um, let's print 1 to 10, 1 to 100. Okay, not function. Okay, so wait, 4. Okay, let's just do 4. So 4 print we don't need. Um, okay, that. Let's run it. Oh, it asked me to save, so let's run it. xx.go. So it prints 0 to 3. And let's say I grab the whole thing. Let's say I delete, um, wait, replace 2 space by 1 space. Okay, and let's say if I do that, okay, run it, it works. Now, Golang provides a tool that's bundled with a language, bundled with a compiler that automatically indent, reformat the whole thing in one shot, including if you have like a very long single line. For example, let's call that command. It's called go format. That's a one. Press enter. You see, it does the whole thing for you. So what this is ideal. This is the best. So when you code, you don't have to worry about indent. Just code the whole program. When you are done, uh, when you need to publish it or something, you press a button and the whole thing is formatted. It can be 10,000 lines or 100,000 lines. You'll do all the formatting for you. So the conventional wisdom or the idea of indenting, that's bullshit. Don't that's I hope um, you know don't do that. Okay, so getting used to, yeah, that's getting used to is one issue because humans, habit is the primary force of everything, because otherwise lots of things needs to be changed, like even the English language, Chinese language or French, those natural languages, they are full of exceptions and problems in pronunciation and so on. and music notation, math notation, the way we, the whole thing is like, if you look at from a scientific view, if you want efficiency, we almost have to change everything, but however, uh, you know, one thing we learn, uh, and is habit. Habit. We base everything. First of all, we have a habit, then we go from there. So change are slow, usually very slow in coming. For example, they say in programming languages, how fast does programming languages turn around? Usually, it will take a few generations. So I think Steve Jobs said something like that. He said like, I forgot what's the topic, but anyways, like he's got some ideas, right? But people don't want to, it's like too new. They don't want to use it. And he said something like, "Oh, you just have to wait for them to die," which is actually true. So for the indent, so things are changing slowly, very slowly. In the past 50 years of programming, for example, there's functional programming now is becoming popular. I mean, at least very commonplace. Functional programming is accepted. But in 1990s, no. Even in 2000s, no. But today, it's kind of accepted and widely used. In many places, functional programming and many other ideas. Like change is slow. And even Java, they introduced Lambda. Remember some 5 years or ago, like but if in 1990s, if you say, oh, we need Lambda in Java, people like, you'll be beaten to death. Oh, functional programming, that's easy. um, at the most fundamental and the most important level is that you everything you do, you write a function without side effect. That's it. Okay, first of all, let's focus on this. And actually, this is the most important and the gist of functional programming. Okay, so functional programming at the most fundamental level, and actually also the most practical level, is just you try to, for any program you write, any source code, I mean any code you write, you try to make everything as a function without side effect. For example, what do you mean? Let me show you an example. um, so okay, well, let me just talk. So what do you mean function without side effect? That means a function takes an argument and it returns a value, and that's it. the, every time given the same arguments to the function will return the same thing every time, no exceptions. So that's functional programming. So what's an example of exception? For example, if you have a function that changes a value of global variable, then that's a function with side effect, because every time you run a function, even though every time you give it a value 3 as input, but the output may not be the same. So the idea of functional programming is that you just your program works as functions. Like every you give it an argument, function returns a value, and you use the value as a result. That's how the whole program runs. Now, in contrast, in C, for example, you have many subroutines. You don't call that functions. You call subroutines because they have lots of side effects. For example, you have subroutines that returns void. You know, why do you want to ever return a void? Because you are actually not using the return value. Your main way of programming is not the return value. You call a subroutine, which is kind of just a template that does something. That's your purpose of using the subroutine, not the return value. And functional programming, on the other hand, is focused on every function, you call functions, function return things, and you can use that thing to do something else. So functional programming focus on expressions. Okay, so that's basically okay. Writing file for database, that gets complicated, you know. So okay, so as I'm saying, functional programming at the most basic and the most practical level is just focus, just try to write functions without side effect. Okay, that's it. Now, in many languages, of course, you cannot do it, and also, you know, also, when you have files, writing to files, opening files, or to database, you cannot do it because I mean you are talking to a database. You cannot. What do you mean no side effect, and what do you mean return value? I mean, you want to change something in database, you don't really, the function is not really returning something for you. So anyway, so yeah, so that's why it gets slightly complicated. And also, so there's the programming language Haskell. You probably have heard Haskell, ML, which stands for meta language, or Camel standard ML, and others, including Lisp. Lisp programming language, including Emacs, is primarily functional because everything is just parentheses, function name, and it returns something, and you do something with that. So anyway, so the basic idea, but it gets complicated. So you have Haskell, which is more of an extreme example. So in Haskell, you have more advanced mathematical ideas that tries to capture, so you can open a file or deal with database, but still they have some mathematical way to maintain the idea that function always return the same thing given the same value. I mean, you are still dealing with functions as a unit. So that's that. Now Haskell is the note that Haskell is kind of special and extreme. Uh, on the other hand, almost every other Haskell is almost the only one, the only functional language that 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 tries to enforce the idea that a function cannot have side effect at all. They try to, the language enforces it. But however, all other languages, OCaml, for example, OCaml, F sharp. F sharp is Microsoft's version of OCaml. They all have side effects. I mean, they don't enforce it. I mean, in Haskell, you kind of enforce it. But so actually, the thing about Haskell is that, something, I mean, even though the language, or according to Haskell people, they actually, enforce it, but it's kind of like they change the definition. It's not really that something you just, you just cannot do in some certain perfect sense of functional, But anyway, so yeah, so also, so you begin with the idea that you try to compute everything by expressions and functions and rely on the return value, and without side effect. That's the fundamental and most practical idea. Remember that in any programming language, you can always try to go the functional style. Um, Now that's the most fundamental. But once you start to do that, there are some other ideas that comes up that become, you will, if you start to actually program functional style every day, you will begin to learn, actually you will begin to discover there are several things or concepts. You'll just notice, okay, I'm not even, giving you names, but you'll just start to notice that there are certain things, certain features you want because you do this so often. So so for functional programming, there are, it begins to have its some other features and ideas. For example, you might have heard monad, you might have heard currying, you might have heard tail recursion, or recursion. Um, you might have heard referential transparency. So they are, you know, subsequent ideas of functional programming. Um, yeah, but basically, just focus on writing functions without side effect. Or if you want to actually go to the extreme, you have to learn Haskell. Um, and by the way, I always want to flame Haskell people. I got the urge to flame them because they are like the fad, it's like the Lisp, like the OOP, in the past, it's just a fad, like they are experts in Haskell, but what you hear about Haskell every day is usually garbage. It's trash. It's like Perl people saying something about Perl back then. But anyway, uh, oh, I've been talking for 1 hour, so that's about to end. So we end this soon. Maybe a few more minutes. So if you have question, type it, and we'll get to the. And then um, yeah. There's something else I want to say about functional programming. Uh, oh yeah. So Haskell. Okay, Haskell is on the extreme end of functional programming, but note that Haskell is not. It's not be all and end all for functional programming. Not at all. Haskell is actually not a mathematical. First of all, Haskell is not a math language. It is not. It's not a language that a true mathematician or logician will actually like. Anyway, I'm getting far. But anyway, so there are other languages now. There's called Coq, COQ. Let's just find it. Coq and Idris. For example, there are these two languages that's built on top of the ideas of Haskell. So Idris programming language. Okay, here is the. I want to go to home page. Yeah, Idris. Okay, so I mean you can look it up. So Idris is kind of newer generation after Haskell. There are several. There are several, and Coq is another one. And there's Epigram. I'm not sure what's Epigram. So there's Idris programming language, and there's Coq. What is this? I don't want to go here. So, oh yeah, here. So Coq is this is actually Coq is actually a mathematical proof system. Actually, they call it's so-called mathematical proof assistant. So they don't actually call it a proof system, but proof assistant. So it's like a programming language, but not really. So it's not. It's very different. So, but anyway, it's mostly used for building proofs. Um, and there's epigram. Actually, I don't know what epigram exactly. So these are so Idris, for example. This is very new. So it began in few years ago, I think. So this is a new generation. Like this is the next generation from Haskell. And so anyway, but these languages they have very strong mathematical theories, and that can get very complex. I mean, we talking about symbolic logic and proof systems. Oh, common sense. Oh, Haskell in Hebrew means common sense. I didn't know. But Haskell, the name Haskell came from the logician Haskell. Um, so let's look up Haskell logician. And I remember there was an article like 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago. This guy. Uh, so he's a logician, so Haskell borrowed his name. But I remember like more than 10 years ago, there's an article from Haskell people that they interviewed the family of Haskell Curry, this mathematician. They interviewed the family to ask them for permission to use his name for the language. So you can look up, you can look it up. You'll probably find the article. Oh, it also translated. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching today's episode of XR Talk Show. So, thank you guys. I want to mention this. I've been wanting. I'm okay. I'm. So I want to mention. So if you like my stuff, my videos, I'm trying to make a buck, or two. Although I'm doing video, I enjoy it myself. But so if you like my stuff, give me a few bucks, I'm on Patreon. Or you go to Amazon and send me a Amazon gift card, a few bucks and something on PayPal. So that'll be great if you like my things, if you think it's worthy. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hey, Israel Dove, you are the Emacs guy, right? So I mean, so he's got the Emacs channel, so maybe we can do one together. Sometimes I'm thinking, let let's do a video together about Emacs. So see you guys. Thanks. Good night.